Thank you for the opportunity to come and address the Soweto Investment Conference on behalf of the City of Johannesburg Economic Development. Many of you will know I'm not a politician. I happen to be in the business of politics. So I think you would have seen that, some of you would have seen that I was visibly upset to a point where I had to walk outside to catch a breath, have some water, and then try and compose myself and come back in here. Why do I say this? We came into the city of Johannesburg as a multi-party government in December 2021. So we are 5 months into the administration. How did it come about? I've never been in politics. I have been an activist, yes. I grew up in a political family, yes. I've lost family. I've been tortured, I've suffered. But I spent my life in corporate. 25 years in the technology space, working for multinationals, both in South Africa and abroad. I got to a point last year where I realized that half my money is going somewhere. It's going into tax. And what is tax supposed to provide you? It's supposed to provide you services in any functioning society. Healthcare, education, security, infrastructure. And yet I still had my kids in private school, private security, private medical aid. Why? Because government's facilities don't function. Government is not functioning, and yet my money was going. So I had to make a choice. What do we do? Do we leave the country and go live somewhere else, which I had an option to? Or do I go into government and roll up my sleeves as a technocrat and make all the sacrifices and try and change it? I took a very unpopular decision that cost a lot in my family. My wife and I fought for the longest time. She couldn't understand. What are you trying to do? Why would you leave such a comfortable corporate job with all the benefits and go into this space in government that's riddled with corruption, with ineptitude, and it's just plain dangerous? Why would you do it? At some point, she accused me of being power hungry. And I spent many nights alone because my wife wouldn't understand. I sit in my home office, and I wish she understood. My family couldn't understand as to why do you do this thing. Our friends are doing very well, living comfortable lives. Why would you do this thing? What's the desire? What pushes you to this thing? Now, ordinarily, people get into politics for a number of reasons. Either they are committed to make a change in society, or they are in it for self-interest. The pain of convincing my family that this is not self-interest was hard. Convincing my wife, my parents, about the state of affairs outside and the need for us to stand up and go fix things was hard. Nonetheless, I made that choice, a very painful choice. And I said, I'm going to roll up my sleeve and go in there and do it myself. So I stand here before you as somebody who's made personal sacrifices, painful sacrifices, not because of personal gain, but because of the love I have for the country, the love I have for our people. It pains me to see 3 out of 4 young people unemployed. It pains me to see young kids on Nyaope. It pains me to see young girls sleeping in amaplesa because of sebins and being impregnated. It pains me to see our people suffer in hospitals that have no service. It pains me to see the facilities that we have all around us dysfunctional. It pains me to see the erosion of our integrity as a society. It pains me to see a society that is invaded. All because of politics. The only winners in this game are politicians. The only winners in this game is corrupt business in collusion with politicians. The losers here are our vulnerable elders. The losers here are our vulnerable children. The losers here is society. It's us. We're sliding into poverty with the highest unemployment rate in the world. So I'm not going to stand here and try and tell stories. Our government has had 28 years to implement the nice stories. 28 years to implement. You ask yourself a question, why are we in the state that we're in today, 28 years later? What is it that it'll take to change? What miracle is going to happen? How often have you sat and listened to politicians make promises? How often? At what point are we as a society going to stand up and say enough is enough? Who are the beneficiaries? Bearing in mind, this is our money. Now, I have nothing personal against MEC Parkstow. In fact, I like him as a person. I was there on the ground with him in 2016, supported his campaign big time. He will tell you, the day after the ANC lost the election to the coalition government, the ATA and the AFF, the next day, I was right there at the ANC regional offices with Parks, with the late Jeff, with the late Ucholi. No dad. I was there to console them, saying, hey, chance, Sizamil. But Gwenzagel, what now? Why? Because I had hope. I had hope. I had hope in him and his team to say, in the darkness that our country faces, you are the hope. I had hope for change. I had hope for change, so much so that I was one of the people that initiated Occupy Luthuli House. And we took a risk, personal risk. Personal risk to try and rid the ANC of capture. We are here today, 7 years later. Look around you. Eventually, I gave up. So again, I've got nothing against him. But I could not sit there and listen to the tone and the message and be okay with it. I could not be okay. I could not be okay to be told that as a municipality you shall adapt or adopt. I could not be okay to be party of a program that I have had no say, no visibility, no consultation, nothing. Nothing, zero, not once. As the office of the MMC for Economic Development in the city of Johannesburg, have we been consulted? So how am I supposed to take ownership and support and promote it? I'm hearing about it for the first time today. For the first time, I'm hearing the details. And I'm being told that you shall do this. Province is not the big brother, the city of Johannesburg. The city of Johannesburg is a government of its own. The city of Johannesburg makes its money, its revenue, from rate payers. Of the 77 billion rand that we get as a revenue, only 2 billion rand comes as some form of grants from national. Only. So we are on our own. We have to generate revenue on our own. And because we are at the cold face of things, we are the ones responsible for service delivery. So I can't be handed something and be told you shall implement. This is politics at play. We are more than willing, we are a government of the people. We are more than willing to support provincial government, more than willing to support national government. We want to support, we want to lend a hand, that's why we're here. But we're being ignored and we're being dictated to. And I think this is where they missed the boat. The failure of our programs are going to be attributed to us as a city of Johannesburg. The people look to us and say, "We must palawam." How do we take ownership of something that we don't know? We don't even know how the program is going to work. Look at Alexander Renewal Project, ARP. What happened? There's cases upon cases upon cases of government failure, systematic failure to deliver on behalf of the people. It's about time this thing ends. It's about time we hold our politicians accountable. It's about time we stop glorifying our politicians. 80%, 90% of spaza shops in the townships are run by foreigners. Are run by foreigners. 90% of formal businesses in the city of Johannesburg are run by foreigners. Cell phone repair shops, clothing shops are Pakistanis, Somalis. How did we get here? How did we get here? In 28 years, how did we get here? How did we get taken over? When we've got access to programs like these, why now? Why now? How did our economy deteriorate to this extent? And we still glorify those politicians? Because of sentimental value? The World Bank says in 2030, if things go on the way they are, South Africa is going to be a failed state. You know what a failed state is? A failed state will make Zimbabwe look like a walk in the park. Why? Because of nepotism, because of corruption, because of maladministration. And this is a system that is intended to benefit a few and not the rest. That's evil. It is downright evil. You've got to call it what it is. So, I won't talk to the Township Economic Bill. I think MMC Pakster has spoken about it. It is in the ambit of province. Its successes and its failures belongs there. We as a city will provide support when we are consulted, we are required, we'll lend a hand. Because we're not here for politics, we're here for service delivery. Wherever we can, we'll support. But I want to say it on record that we're playing a support role. Let me talk to you briefly about some important aspects. Firstly, about the city in numbers. In the last 5 years, our economy has shrunk at a growth rate of minus 5.3%. We've seen the highest climb in unemployment. The Q3 2021 survey by StatsSA states that joblessness is at 40.8%, youth unemployment at over 50%, expanded to 74%. We are progressing deeper and deeper into joblessness. The poverty rate has increased. It's sitting at 51.7%. What does it mean? It means that there are more families going to bed hungry. World-class African city. World-class African city. Families are going to bed hungry. Children are going to bed hungry. Our population has increased by 6 million. The quality of life is sitting at 62% as a quality of life index. And the customer satisfaction index is 59 out of 100 points. What does it mean? It means service delivery in general is poor. You call your government today, you want a service, you are lucky if you get it within the stipulated time. As we came in as the multi-party government, we sought to put together our manifestos into one, 9-party, multi-party government. first time. Different parties, different ideologies, different views, but all of us realizing that we need to do something about it and pull together. And that translated into the following vision: a city of golden opportunities, a vibrant, safe, and resilient city where local government delivers a quality of life for every resident. And the mission being the city of Johannesburg to commit itself to a proactive service delivery and creation of a city environment that is resilient, sustainable, and livable now and for future generations. We then penned down 7 mayoral priorities, and I'd like to take you through them fairly quickly. I was hoping there was a projector, I would have had them up here, but I can make this information available. Number 1, it's a city that gets the basics right. Ensure that there's clean water, sanitation, a hygienic environment. The basics, right. A safe and secure city, particularly to care for our vulnerable. A caring city. A society can be judged on how it takes care of its most vulnerable, such as the elderly, LGBTQA+ community, women, children, and persons with disabilities. A business-friendly city. Cut the red tape, become accessible, make it easy to do business with government. An inclusive city, where every corner gets the services. A child in Orange Farm must get the same access to the internet as a child in Senton, to close the gap. A well-run city that speaks for itself. Let the services just work. And a smart city, embracing technology to advance the development of a city. I'll skip on the institutional programs that we have. They are available. I just want to quickly jump into numbers so that you can understand. I said earlier on that we are self-funded. We are self-funded. Our budget is approximately 77 billion rands, and just under 10% of that is capex. So 7.6 billion is capex, and the bulk is operating budget. When you look at our revenue, 65 billion comes from services, which I'll talk about, and about 8.8 billion comes from internal revenue. This is when the city transacts amongst itself. It's funny money. Our total expenditure is 72 billion. And capital gains, or grants rather, are 2.6 billion. That's what we're operating on. Now, when the start of the financial year 2021-2022, which is July 2021, started, the city had a surplus of 7.5 billion rands. Surplus. When we came into government in December, we're down to 2 billion. Today, we are burning R1 billion a month with Pick It Up, with City Power alone. Under collecting, but we're overspending because we're going to go buy electricity from Cllr. So at the rate things are going, we're burning R1 billion into our reserves every single month. We run a major risk of ratings downgrade. This is what it is. And I think it's important to understand. Hence, we channel our money to where it's needed the most. What are the main revenue streams? The single biggest revenue stream is service charges, electricity. That's what we need as a revenue stream, at 30%, 31%. Water at 14%. Property rates at 20%. So I had a chat with the group CFO before I came here to understand what is Soweto's contribution. And it is in single digits. We're not paying for electricity. We're not paying for services. Now you ask yourself, if that's a primary source of income, where are we going to get the money to plow back into Soweto and stimulate the economy? The culture of non-collection was a political ploy that went wrong, to not enforce collection of electricity. It went terribly wrong. It's left us in this lurch now. City Power says we need 26 billion rand to fix the infrastructure. Where are we going to get that? We don't have that money. I'm not going to go into operating expenditure. I think it'll bore you too many items. What is the capital budget made out of that 7.3 billion I was talking about? 2 billion is made out of loans, 2.6 in cash. National government gives us 288 million. 288 million only. Provincial government gives us 16 million rand. The rest of the grants, USDG grants, amount to 1.8 billion rand. This is what is spent on key infrastructure projects, roads, electrification. Bear in mind, we've got a massive infrastructure backlog. So we are trying to catch up with the little that we are getting. We hope to up the capital budget allocation from 7.5 now in the next 3 years to 8.6 billion. Where is this capex going into? Joburg roads 15%, housing 13%, Joburg water 12%, transport 7%, city power 10%, and the bulk of the other services like IT, group shared services, planning, public safety, and so on takes the rest. We are trying as best as we can to allocate this. What are we doing about it? We're going to need to do very unconventional things to turn the situation around. Outside of alternative funding models, we need the stimulation of the SMME sector. This is where jobs are created. This is where employment is created. This is where revenue is generated. As economic development, our number one mandate is investment attraction. We've got a hard-coded target of about 30 billion rands to bring into the city. But how do you attract investment in a city that doesn't function? And I'll talk to you about what it is that we're doing. We've got to stimulate SMMEs, and we've got to create an enabling environment for job creation. So there is no silver bullet. We don't want to come here with a program and say, we've got this amount of money, we're going to give you this amount of money, that's what you're going to do. We don't want to do that. We cannot do that. I wish we could. At best, we can play facilitation between big business and small business and create a functional city that ensures that big business comes out and invests and partners with small business. The problem we face right now is the level of confidence is very low with big business on anything that has to do with government. The city is not being funded. Funding institutions are not funding the city. We get our money from the development bank, but capital markets are not giving us money. There's low confidence. There is money, it's there. They just want confidence to say, is there clean governance? Is the government clean? Can you eradicate corruption? Can you improve service delivery? Can you make the basics work? So big business is waiting for us. We are judged on the strength of what we are doing every single day. We are a government that works 7 days a week because we've got to convince big business to say, come back and invest. Trust us that when you give us your money, it's not going into pockets of connected people. It is really going to where it's supposed to go. So we've had to spend the last 5 months really giving a sense of confidence to business that you can trust us. And we've had to take some drastic steps and decisions to show that we mean what we say. But now we're starting to see big business warming up. Tonight I'm giving an address at the EU Chamber of Commerce that constitutes a lot of big business from Europe. So it's a city that wants to work. Please work with us. We are riding on our credibility. We're riding on credibility and consistency. You said you're going to do this, you've done it. Can you demonstrate? So right now, our credibility is really what we don't have much time. That's why we work 7 days a week. There is no time. So we're going out there to look for money. And we're going overseas fairly soon to look for funding, grant funding. But all they ask us is, can you deal with corruption and ineptitude? And we are saying yes. We mean it, and we can demonstrate it. We spend so much of our time. In fact, we had a report from ENS Africa at our Maycom about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. A scary report. They did an investigation. And they said, are you ready for this? I said, do you know how many of your officials are corrupt? We couldn't come with an answer. I said 80%. We've come into a space of systematic corruption between politicians and officials. It's a network. People wake up every day to go steal sidla kuphi. Umuntu ngaphakathi. Abantu bami lava. That culture is deeply ingrained within our department of. They are good guys. Make no mistake, they are good guys. And they're really good guys. Particularly my guys from economic development. They are good guys, but they're bad guys. And it's a system, it's a network. It's so ingrained. Some of the wives of politicians work in our entities. Some of the wives of senior politicians work in our institutions. Some of the wives of our senior politicians, I will not mention them by name, do big business with the city. A clear conflict of interest. But it is a culture. Has become it's the norm. The amount of phone calls I received when I got into office of people warming up, wanting to talk to me. And I'm thinking, but do these guys understand that I'm not involved in procurement? I'm a political head to give political direction. I'm not going to go and say, go give this deal to that one, But it tells you that we came from that culture that says, must be umuntu wethu lapha, MMC wethu. So this is what big business is asking us. It's saying, what are you guys doing about it? And we are saying we're dealing with it. We are cleaning up. The first thing we did when we got in was to bring forward the AGM of all the 13 municipal entities. That was meant to take place in March. We brought it to February. We did a clean sweep of people that were just deployed to protect the system. Somebody owns a small daycare service, is a board member in a large entity. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But a board member has a different frame of mind that has to drive governance. So we've had to do a clean sweep on our boards. Officials are the hardest because they know the system. And you'll sit in front of them and you'll know that, nah. But they know how to work around it. So we spend our days fighting this thing. And now we're going to go to big business and say, we are doing this thing, but we are winning the battle. I can assure you, we are winning it. One step at a time, we are bringing confidence that there can be clean governance, because this is what big business wants in order for them to give us money, in order for us to plow into programs that are going to help our society. So why I'm telling you this, it's a long journey. It's going to take time, but we are committed to doing it. So when we appear unavailable, it's really because we're putting in 14 hours a day trying to fix things. I'd much rather be in events like these cutting ribbons. That's the fun part. I'd rather be cutting ribbons and, fanfare. That's the fun part. That's an easy job. But my team will tell you, and I'm sure they complain that I'm a slave driver. My team will tell you that I'm on it 14 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. That's the culture that we're bringing in because we've got to professionalize public service. And I think that culture is starting to change, and they're starting to see. So there's hope for us to fix this thing. And I'm hoping that this time next year, we can stand here and I can say, there's a program that we've got investment of X amount of money. Here's a program, let's go run it indiscriminately, not even to people I know. I'm hoping we can get there, but we're not there yet. We're still in the build-up phase. Some of the things that I would encourage business to engage in is what we call the Joburg Business Forum. I chair it. We meet on a quarterly basis. It's made up of big business and small business. Some of the outputs in the Joburg Business Forum was the decision to declare the City Deep as a special economic zone, for example. And now we are working hard towards getting that going as an agri and a logistics hub. And this is where opportunities are going to come for us. There is a plan to do Nasrec as a special economic zone for IT. I hope we can find each other with province, because I heard MMC talk about, but we'll take it offline. I think we need to align somewhere. So I would encourage business to join the JBF, be part of those engagements. Opportunities are there, they come up, to demonstrate to big business that we are hungry. We want to work. We will facilitate, we will create an enabling environment. We are working very closely with the SA Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'm meeting them again next week. Large businesses who want to invest, who just want the confidence. What we are looking to do potentially is to have a panel of SMMEs within economic development that have been vetted, that have got capability to deliver certain services, and be able to say, if you want to do business, here are the, here's our base indiscriminately. You can go into it, decide. We'll do the vetting in terms of service delivery. We'd rather focus on empowering those SMMEs from a governance perspective, that have your governance structure right. Make sure that your processes are correct. Make sure that your taxes are correct. Everything that you need, that big business needs to do, is done right. And all we can do is expose to the likes of Saki. And we want to do that with international chambers of commerce as well. We're hoping that it can turn the dial. But as a start, the Joburg Business Forum, it's important. Some of the area-based initiatives that we are planning for Soweto, if any of you know the Soweto Empowerment Zone, is just a sad story. A sad, sad story. I did an oversight. The buildings had been hijacked. And then I discovered by chance a building that belongs to the city that is supposed to be a satellite market for the Joburg fresh produce market. For 10 years, hijacked. It's a waste collection, a waste recycling entity. illegal electricity connection, 9 or 10 undocumented foreigners working there. Our guy from Soweto is hiring undocumented foreigners, slave labor, illegal connection of electricity. They could not have done that without the collusion of our officials. How could we have not seen that happen? It's either somebody's not doing their job or somebody's complicit collecting rent. Do you understand the extent of the challenge we face? So we shut down the facility. We are revitalizing it. We're going to bring the Joburg fresh produce market, working with the market now, back. I saw a plan, a very attractive plan that includes drive-through, where you get bulk milk, bulk meat, bulk fresh produce, at the same price as you would get it at CDT. So somebody who has to leave from Mlapo to CDT, we cut that trip short. Okay? Saving you time, saving you money, making sure that you can get to trade very quickly. Okay, that is a practical thing. It is happening. I saw the plans yesterday, and I'm hoping that, and we're busy budgeting for it. It's just I think these are the small steps we need to take to reclaim that. We are going to revitalize the industrial parks. If you see Lapana Orlando West, Jake, that entire industrial park that was hijacked, it's all foreign, dilapidated. We are going on an oversight next week. And we are going to go business by business to bring it back up. Okay? Sometimes a bit later, I think once we get funding, we're looking at doing ward-based skills centers. Okay? This is my plan. Every ward to have, it mustn't be, people mustn't walk too far to try and get skills. When I grew up, we used to go to this technical college as a Cllr, where I learned to do woodwork. I can actually build cupboards. And it's a skill that we need to teach our people. And I know I'm talking about elementary skills right now. Yes, we live in the fourth industrial revolution and the skills have to change. But the elementary skills, namhlanje when you want a plumber, kuza umuntu waseMalawi. You want a mechanic, kuza umuntu waseZimbabwe. You want an electrician, kuza umuntu waseMozambique. These are the skills that our people are supposed to have. So I'm going out there to look for money to say, please let us train our people. These basic skills. They say 1% increase in knowledge capital equates to just over 3% incremental increase in GDP growth, or 140,000 jobs. What that means is you teach somebody a skill, it's something that they can hold on to and they can trade with. So what we are saying is our young people should not go look for jobs, look to establish your businesses. We will bring the skills to you. Okay? So very big focus. I was speaking to academia, the professors from WITS, UJ, and UNISA. They are prepared to support us. They've extended all their students to help us in these programs, so that you've got access to 10,000 students at your fingertips. They've got skills centers as well. So while we are not there yet in terms of infrastructure in the wards, we will start to get that facilitation happening. The quicker we can get those skills done, the better. The team put together, as part of the budget planning, a model of a stipend and a period of time in terms of skills to acquire. I think we need to reclaim those skills. Many of you will know that we've just passed the informal trade policy on the 26th of April. Now, this policy has been in the making for the longest time. Prior to 2013, was taken to court. The Concord came back and said, you can't just do mass evictions and so on. And then it went into the shelves, disappeared. In 2018, some point, there was a motion, You know, on social media, EFF people are quick to tell me that, hey, it was our motion. Don't say it's, I didn't say it's our policy. I just said we passed it. We did what was supposed to happen. That's all. Implemented it. Going back, it was in public participation. Public participation came back. When we came on board, we pulled it off the shelves and said, let's drive this thing. Why is this thing important? And not just in the inner city. I know it's in the regions, but I'll focus on the inner city. The inner city is derelict. It is dirty. It is unsafe. And it is foreign. So we have got to regulate that space. And we intend to use the informal trade policy with further amendments to make sure that whoever is trading there, number one, is South African. If not South African, you must be here legally. Okay? Okay, I've been accused that I'm running a different race to say I don't want foreigners. No, that's not true. That's not true. But there's a loophole where people have asylum seeker status for many years beyond their, so you got to hold Home Affairs accountable. What I'm trying to say is that there's an imbalance. When you did a survey, and thanks to Tato, gave me a brilliant report that says the survey that was done in 2019 on cross-border trade, it says only 22% of informal traders are South African. My experience, my walking through the linear markets, maybe 5%. So it's been captured. So there's an imbalance between what is termed asylum seekers and locals, if you look at our population. So we have to fix that, okay? We have to fix that. You've got to reclaim those spaces to where they belong, rightfully so, but legally so. I'm already getting threats to being taken to court and so on. There's these human rights groups that emerge from nowhere who talk about human dignity. And I'm saying, why don't you go to human dignity in Zimbabwe? Why are we a country where foreign failed governments are outsourcing their problems to? Yes, there's human dignity, but the optics don't lie. So what we're saying is we need to fix that because that space has collapsed. The city has got no capacity to provide support adequately. Because remember, you've got to have pick it up for cleaning, you've got to have JRA for walkways, you've got to have development planning for spatial planning, you've got to have water for pollution facilities, JDA for pollution facilities, and a whole host of departments, JMPD for bylaw enforcement. We don't have capacity to deal with it because it's overpopulated. So we need to bring it down to what capacity we can do and give it to the meaningful people, the rightful people that need to occupy those. Same goes with the market at Dobsonville, and all the markets that we have, Bara, everywhere. So this aims to reclaim that space to the rightful people that deserve. But we also need the people to step up. We don't want to go out and fight. And then somebody was tweeted, when I tweeted about a stipend, say 3,800 rands, say EPWPH, MPD. But what are we supposed to do with the 3,800? I thought to myself, And this is an 18 to 35 age group. So then you realize that we need to widen that group. This thing, you reserve jobs for 18 to 35. Somebody who's 45, who's been hit hard and willing, I'm 48, I'm still fit, I can work. You'll find that they're more responsible because they know and they'll take it. So let's create competition in that space, okay? So these are some of the initiatives that we are taking, that we're doing as a city. We're going to reclaim the city in the informal trade. And from there, we go to the formal trade. Because there's this notion that you're targeting Africans. No. We're going to go after the formal trade. We're going to go to China Mall. We'll do it across the board. We will reclaim the city one by one. But the priority is, what is it that we're going to do for Soweto? Tourism is launching as a company. Very big plans. We'll call for a tourism indaba. So the Joburg Tourism Company will launch, I think, at the end of next month. It's got a new board. It's being capacitated, it's being pulled out of the department to make it more agile. There's plans already to bring more tourism routes and so on. So we'll call for a tourism industry. But I think tourism is the quickest way for us to, our soul is the one thing that nobody has anywhere in the world that is unique to us. That's it. So let's create a platform to show it to the rest of the world. So tourism is there to promote that. We're focusing on tourism in a big way. I've spoken about the market. Joburg market will bring it closer. One thing more important is maybe the Joburg Property Company, which also falls under our portfolio. It's got in excess of 28,000 properties, mostly underdeveloped, underutilized. We're starting with the audit of those properties, and they're all over, residential, commercial, open pieces of land. We want to start a program to unlock those properties to SMMEs, okay? Why? Because we are not maintaining them ourselves, and they're dilapidated and they're hijacked. Why don't you, at least if I give it to an SMME, at some point after 6 months, I'll be able to start to collect some rates. You know what I mean? So it's a win-win.